Hallo und willkommen bei der WerteInitiative. Mein Name ist Tina Adlersztejn. Die WerteInitiative hat eine Umfrage unter jüdischen Bürgerinnen und Bürgern zum Thema deutsche Außenpolitik durchgeführt. Aus den Ergebnissen entstand der Reader Außenpolitik, jüdische Perspektiven. Wir stellen die Ergebnisse vor und befragen die Expertinnen und Experten, die im Reader zu Wort kommen. How relevant is Germany's voting behavior in United Nations regarding Israel to you? 95% of the participating Jews consider the German voting behavior at the UN with regard to Israel to be very important or rather important. We talk about it to Hillel Neuer. He is Executive Director of United Nations Watch, a human rights NGO in Geneva, Switzerland. Mr. Neuer, how do you explain this great relevance of German voting behavior for Jews in this country?
Well, it's interesting. I believe that Jews throughout the diaspora understand the effect of UN resolutions that demonize Israel. And there's nothing wrong with having a UN resolution that would criticize Israel. The problem, of course, is that what we see at the United Nations, including here in Geneva at the Human Rights Council, is demonization. You have an excessive amount. You have almost half of all the resolutions of the entire council are directed at one country, Israel. It's a tiny country, a population of less than 10 million. It's a democracy, imperfect, but about half the resolutions are directed at Israel. You have one agenda item for the whole world, one agenda item against Israel. You have a new commission of inquiry that is going to accuse Israel of, quote, apartheid, which is absurd because there's an Arab government in Israel, an Arab party in the Israeli government. There are Arabs who vote, they're elected, they have positions throughout society. So I think Jews in Germany understand that these UN resolutions, the effect and perhaps the intent is not just to demonize Israel, but to demonize Jews. And it's just the acceptable form today is to say, it's nothing against Jews. We just think that the Jewish state is the most evil, wicked, racist, colonialist, occupying country in the world. And I think people can see through that and can see that it's effectively demonizing Jews.
Germany explains its voting behavior with two arguments. A, the homogeneity of European decisions, and B, it mitigates their content by participating and agreeing to resolution texts. What's your opinion about it?
No, I don't accept that explanation. It can happen from time to time in certain exceptional situations where Israel will ask maybe a country like Germany to be engaged in negotiations and try to remove certain language. And it perhaps could be understood that the price of that engagement might be abstaining or even voting yes on the resolution. That could happen in some cases. But I have no evidence, and I've been at the United Nations for a very long time, I have no evidence that Israel has asked Germany to support, in a typical year, 15 out of 20 resolutions against Israel. That's really unacceptable. In any other situation, the European countries would say, well, maybe one resolution, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 15? This is absolutely absurd. It's disproportionate. It's wasting time at the UN and it's demonizing that country. That's the same thing that Germany ought to do here. And the answers that we're getting from the German government sound to me like excuses. Germany should take the lead. And if they want homogeneity, that's fine. But all EU countries should join together in saying, we can criticize Israel, but we should also criticize Hamas and far more criticize a terrorist group. These resolutions have no criticism whatsoever of Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Palestinian Authority. They are one-sided resolutions. They are not balanced. Germany should take a principled stand and vote no and should stop supporting so many of them.
Thank you, Mr. Neuer. Gemeinsam mit mir im Studio ist Elio Adler, Vorsitzender der WerteInitiative. Guten Abend. Wie sehen Sie das?
Die UN ist wie ein öffentlicher Pranger und eigentlich hat die UN den Nimbus, eine neutrale, friedensorientierte Organisation zu sein. Und dass Deutschland diese Showabstimmung mitmacht, ist ein verheerendes Signal. Es hat nichts damit zu tun, was der Gedanke der UN ist, sondern ist im Endeffekt schädlich. Darum stehen wir dem Ganzen so gegenüber, dass wir uns wünschen würden, dass Deutschland mutig ist und einen eigenen richtigen Weg geht und nicht sich durchlaviert.
Weiteres finden Sie im Link zum Reader und der steht in der Beschreibung zum Video.